times in my work as a pastor where I have been present as people have died. And one of those experiences that is perhaps most powerful to me in these transitions from life into death is when the dying person cannot let go. The body does not want to quit. Either the person is waiting for a family member from far away to show up at the bedside, or they feel that some unfinished business is there and they simply cannot let go, or frankly, the body loves life so much it doesn't want to leave. And there have been times when I have experienced a beloved spouse or a family member there at the bedside and telling that beloved dying one, you can go now. It's okay. Go and rest. Could you imagine saying words like that, maybe you have, to some beloved one who is dying? To give that person permission to die is a gift to them. It's also a challenge to say, go. You can rest in peace now. It's all taken care of. You can go. To a person who is going to die anyway, to a person whose story we can see the conclusion, such permission to die, for however heartbreaking it may be, it is ultimately a reasonable gift. But what about giving permission to die to someone who is healthy and full of promise and potential? Could you and I give Jesus permission to die if we did not know how the story was going to go? In the Gospels of Matthew and Mark and Luke, when Jesus speaks of his impending death, what do his disciples do? They go crazy with frustration at his insistence that this is the way his life is going to go. Yes, he is going to go to Jerusalem, and there he will be betrayed, and he will suffer, and he will die. And then he offers up, as though they could ever understand, an odd statement. Oh, and then I will rise again 3 days later. Any reasonable person would say, no, you won't die. You can't. Are you crazy? In the Gospels of Matthew and Mark and Luke, that's exactly what the disciples do. They rebuke him. They reject what he is going to say, what he's thinking is going to happen in the near future. In fact, things get even worse. Then they assume, if this guy is crazy, we're going to just do our own thing here. We will vie for power amongst ourselves. Which of us is really the greatest, the most spiritual? That's how the situation falls apart in Jesus' inner circle in those three Gospels. No one in the Gospels of Matthew, Mark, or Luke, no one gives Jesus permission to die. No one says, go ahead. We see how this is moving, this story of yours. We can let you go. It's okay. No one says that. But in John's Gospel comes this one instance where Mary, the sister of Martha and Lazarus, this beloved family, this one woman gives Jesus permission to die. Perhaps not so much with words, but here at this dinner party that that she is present at. She does, as she always seems to in these stories, something emotional. Something out of the rawness of her heart. She brings out this vessel of unbelievably expensive ointment. Frighteningly expensive. 1% expensive. She brings out this kind of a gift, and what does she do? She gives Jesus a sense of exactly how she is going to regard not him alive, but dead. It seems one could read between the lines that she might have had a conversation with him off the stage. It is quite possible she showed him this jar, maybe even lifted the lid and let him inhale the fragrance. Perhaps she privately told him why she had spent an outrageous sum of money. She said, "It's for your mirror." And somehow Jesus accepted the gift. And as he accepted the gift, perhaps quietly and privately there, he must accept it again, surrounded by Mary's family members as she begins to anoint his feet with this costly perfume. But she gives him then this permission to die. By so doing, and with him so accepting, and her not knowing how the story is going to go, is she crazy? Is she despondent? Why does she do this? Is she giving up already? A few days ago, my oldest son Sebastian asked me, why did Jesus' life go the way it did? Why did he die? And I said to Sebastian, well, look, you like the stories of Jesus when he would teach, right? Yes. You like the healing stories? Oh, yeah. How about the miracle stories? Those are pretty good. What about the times when he challenged really religious, spiritual people to open their hearts up to God more and more? Did you like that? I said, you know, he kept doing things like that again and again and again. And each time people got to see how deeply God lived in him. Would you have wanted him to stop? I asked Sebastian. Would you want him to just quit, take a break, no longer do all this teaching and healing and miracle working? Oh, no. No, he should keep doing what he's doing. I said, well, if he kept doing what he was doing, people were going to wonder, who is this guy? What expectations can we have of him? Is he going to be a political leader? Is he going to change life here in Judea? Will the Romans be banished? Will there be a new reign of God's power? Will we be blessed, successful, prosperous under this Jesus? If Jesus keeps doing what he's doing, and a riot comes up, a rebellion takes place, who's going to have to speak up for that? Religious leaders? Roman authorities? People are getting antsy, I said. You see, Sebastian, I said, Jesus kept doing what he was doing, and people kept getting more and more excited, agitated, worried, hopeful, all at the same time. Jesus kept doing what he was doing, and that's the way the story was going to go. Could we have given him permission to die if we did not know how the story was going to go? Would you and I have been reasonable, like many of his friends, and said, "Don't do this, you're crazy. This must never happen to you, what you're talking about"? Because if we had said to him those things, if you and I had tried to dissuade him from what he was doing, I don't think we would be here 2,000 years later talking about a Messiah who quit. Someone who had a failure of nerve about proclaiming the kingdom of God would not be one I give my heart to. And at the same time, if we were in the position of Mary, if we had given Jesus permission to die, what were we saying? That we are giving this beloved, beautiful man really a heartfelt gift of despair. The world doesn't know how to treat beautiful, good people. It squishes them out of existence, rubs them out. Politics kill people like that. Mary offers a goodbye gift because she's pretty sure it's going to be goodbye. For as loving as she is, there is a bittersweet sense of despair that this story can't go any other way. She doesn't give him a gift. "Oh, here, this is for you after you've been raised from the dead." No, here is a big pile of perfume to cover your dead body with. This is how I, Mary, in my grief, will honor you, my beloved friend. I'll make sure your death is a beautiful death, and that your body is beautifully preserved. We're stuck there, aren't we, church? We're stuck. Can we give Jesus permission to die or not? Do we want him to do something or do we want him to do nothing? We cannot decide, and that's exactly the place the Christian soul is as we approach Holy Week. You can't fix this. This story is going to play itself out just as the world is going to let it play out. But perhaps there is some further direction our hearts can take. I find it in Jesus' strange response to Judas about the poor. You know, when Jesus says something kind of odd, like, "The poor you're always going to have with you, but you won't always have me," it's easy to misinterpret that statement. Is Jesus being selfish for once? Does he want to be pampered a bit? Does he want to be respected and honored? Is that what he needs before he dies? I don't think so. I think that he is revealing something about the human heart in the face of suffering. You notice in John's Gospel how carefully, in parentheses, the description of Judas comes up. He didn't care anything about the poor, the text says. He held the common purse and he used to steal from it for his own reasons. That's how the story describes Judas. And over again in John's Gospel, you find that Jesus is in conversation with people who don't get what he's really saying. Over and over again in John's Gospel, he's having a conversation. One person says one thing and Jesus says, "No, that's not what I was talking about." So, Judas offers this very lame objection about selling this perfume and giving the money to the poor. Jesus says, "Leave this woman alone. Let her be. saying is, you have no idea, Judas, the depth of human tenderness that is being expressed by Mary. And in the same way, you have no idea what it means to care for the poor. So Jesus gives him, yes, that snarky remark. Oh, I'll not always be here. The poor will be here forever. And in that way, Judas is left really not understanding one way or the other how to deal with the outpouring of human compassion that Jesus is calling forth from us. We who know the story, you see, could give Jesus permission to die and not know how it went. We would be stuck, wouldn't we? But we know how it goes. We know this story moves onward. Yes, through suffering. Yes, through tragedy and human failure and all the machinery of politics and religious rivalry. But then we also know there is resurrection. What great cost. What great suffering. Paul, when he says, I want to know nothing other than him, crucified and risen. I want to share that with everyone, Paul says. I want to share that crucified and risen life with everyone whom I meet. Paul has journeyed, as we have journeyed in our baptisms, into an acceptance of what Jesus has done with an impossible world. How he has allowed the impossibility of a suffering and broken and cruel world to overtake him, try to extinguish him. And it can't. We enter into Holy Week next Sunday, Palm Sunday, so that we can feel again tenderness in our hearts, journeying with him who gives us permission